And of course, I skipped the countdown. I already had it set up here. That was me chatting pre stream with Rachel Lee. So normally there's a little countdown, but it's all good. We're here. We're live. That's the beauty of live. You never know what's going to happen. Welcome back to the Pomerium live stream. My name is Nick Taylor. I'm a developer advocate over here at Pomerium, and these live streams are really just it's not meant to be necessarily always promoting Pomerium. It's really about getting great content out there just for the engineering community in general. And I'm super pumped to be hanging with Rachel Lee today. I personally know them from previous works on the React team. If anybody remembers the React documentation revamp, Rachel Lee was integral as a part of that. And I think you did also some of the React Native. I wasn't aware of that, but I think you did.
React Native was the prototype for React.dev. I
Oh, okay.
was given 6 months to turn the React Native documentation site around, and so the interactive sandboxes, the new approach to teaching folks diagrams, etc. It was all spearheaded there, and
Okay.
we took what worked and we added it to React.
Nice. Yeah. No, and I gotta say the revamp was really great. Not only just a fresh coat of paint, but thought the docs, well, they still are very well written. So kudos to there. Um, yeah. I
Learned a
guess.
lot about how people learn when it comes to React and pretty much any dev tool on that
Yeah.
project. It was basically 3 years during the pandemic where all we did was study how people learn to think and react, and how they learn new tools, which continues to teach me new things to this day. And a lot of those lessons no longer really matter in the era of agentic coding, but
Yeah.
some of them matter more than ever.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like everybody learns differently, obviously. So like some people are, love just, reading long pieces. Others, I don't know if it's partially because of the era of the TikTok brain, but like short form content helps. But also, I don't know. I don't know where you sit on learning. Like I can definitely. I don't necessarily read the blog post now. I'm kind of, well, it's not really a cheat code, but like if I go out for a walk, I'll have like, I'll just get it to read it to me.
Yeah.
It's
I don't
enjoyable.
think I don't think listening to things like somebody there was some joke about how audiobooks don't count as reading. And I was like, "Excuse me?" Because I am always having to do things with my hands, doing chores, going outside, getting sunlight. Like I'm always moving. I'm sitting on a train. I'm
Yeah,
sitting in the subway or on a bus. So audiobooks are where it's at. You try reading on a bus and getting motion sick? No, thank you. And I
yeah.
listen to books when I'm brushing my teeth at night. So my Goodreads list is actually absolutely top tier.
Hmm.
To say I don't read, though, is stupid. So I think you're consuming content ostensibly made by another human being that is information rich and showing you a new perspective and challenging your brain.
Yeah,
That counts. That counts.
yeah. And I've been doing something, like just, I just remember from high school, like, when you would have to study for exams, so a lot of it was memorization. You still have to learn certain things, obviously, but like for like something like history or whatever, it was just a question of reading notes over and over, and then at some point the repetitiveness, it just kicked in, and then like, I probably couldn't tell you all that information now, obviously, but I've been doing this with blog posts and even podcasts, like somewhat agentic related, but I was, well, definitely agentic related. I was listening to Steve Yegi's podcast on Software Engineering Daily about Gastown, and I've listened to it like maybe 4 or 5 times now, because just to kind of keep letting it absorb, and I haven't got bored of it, as an example. But yeah, to each their own, I guess.
Gastown. Oh man, I feel like Gastown was pre Ralph, was pre OpenClaw. So we've already been through multiple iterations. Is anyone still talking about Gastown? Uh, God,
It's
things move
it's
so
expensive
fast.
too. It's expensive too. I mean, I haven't run a gas town just for sheer monetary reasons. Like, I mean, I definitely I'm allowed to use AI at work, and like there's no like nobody says you've reached your cap. But I think even with that, Gastown is pretty pretty expensive. So yeah,
It's it's interesting. Although there is still part of me that wonders how much of what we're seeing is movement compared to motion. Like, I love that I can contribute as an engineer in ways that have been beyond my means for a very long time. What is it
hmm
great engineers do? Met engineers write about engineers who do. That is, that explains, why I was documenting React and React Native rather than
hmm
actually building React or React Native. Now I'm at a point where I can build stuff again, and it's
yeah,
like I'm scared for the world. I'm genuinely terrified for everyone out there because it's like, ha ha ha, all of that PHP and CSS knowledge turns out it's like it's the same paradigm. I'm just gonna translate it
yeah,
through my agentic coding. But what surprises me is like it feels in this bubble, like on Twitter, uh, on LinkedIn, like everyone's coding with
yeah,
agents. Agents are the future, and yet when you get on there's someone in my Twitter feed, pardon X feed, and they
yeah,
were like, I was on a plane, and there was an engineer from middle state in the United States, and was like,
mhm,
wow, you have an agent coding? How are you doing that? I've never seen this
yeah,
before. And the dude was like, "Really? What?" I
yeah.
do think that there is a bubble, a technology bubble, and the whole world isn't onboarding to the new way of building things. It's still very much an experiment. We might get to the end of this and realize that we built a lot of very interesting infrastructure, but it's not delivering a lot of value for running it. Or we
Yeah,
might find out that it's amazing. But there are still people out there who do not like know what an MCP server is.
yeah,
It happens all the time over here in London, which is where I live. I'm a
yeah,
Yank in London, and like we still have to start every meetup with this is what an MCP server is. When we say agent, this is what we mean by that. It's an LLM with tools and a loop. And an LLM is like it's like a really big perceptron. And so I think we take it for granted that there's a new baseline, and we're not there yet. We're still very much kicking the tires and making it prove its worth.
Oh, definitely. Like obviously we've both been deep in agentic stuff, like a lot of MCP
Yes.
stuff, but like
Yes.
since pretty much it kind of kicked the tires about just over a year ago.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, there's tons of people. Like if I were to talk to people outside of tech, definitely like I have an OpenClaw running on a mini PC. I didn't buy a Mac Mini because I didn't really need I had an existing mini PC, But
Yeah.
side note, Mac Mini sales apparently there's a shortage now.
I should have bought one while I had the chance. But I was like,
Yeah,
no, I want to run it in Cloudflare. Um,
yeah. Yeah, there's definitely tons of places you can run it. I just have it on the mini PC because I'm running a Kubernetes cluster just for I had to when I started working at Pomerium, I hadn't really been in infra or security really, so
yeah.
like it was kind of like this is my playground, so I break it all the time. But it's been a great learning experience. But I was like, I still got this thing here. I'm just gonna throw OpenClaw in there, and it's running in Docker right now, but I'm gonna throw it into my Kubernetes cluster at some point. But
Has it changed your life yet?
I've definitely found it actually very useful, but I don't do a lot of the things that people use it for or say they use it for. Like I don't I don't need an email summary. I don't want it in my email right now.
What do
I've
you
been
use it for?
I've been using I've honestly been the biggest thing I've been leveraging is the cron jobs in it, which is something that you could run on a computer too, obviously, but just with the agentic flow, it's just kind of nice. So like I have these things like do some competitive analysis for me for Pomerium and other things, and have some criteria. And then I'll just get I don't have to do anything. I'll get a message in my Discord at some point. Hey, here's the weekly roundup of competitive analysis. Um, like a lot of stuff where
Like, couldn't you do that with like ChatGPT's scheduled tasks or Goose's scheduled things?
Yeah, no, you definitely could. Like, and I've used Goose a lot, which is great too. This is more, I'm just kicking the tires with OpenClaw, so just trying it out. And they just have this feature in there. Um, but the other things that I've found it's super interesting for is I'm not like a big, I don't know if you like home assistant kind of person where my whole house is like internet
Yes.
enabled, but
Yes.
I had these two Wi-Fi plugs that I was like I wanted to do something with them, like the GitHub sign behind there. It's connected to it. I can turn it on and off, which
Oh,
is
cool.
obviously I could just unplug it too. Um,
Where's the
but
fun in that?
yeah, so but it's just more like I'm just kind of experimenting with that. But I'm definitely not like a West boss that has a ton of things set up. But the other thing I found interesting with it is, and I know we'll get to MCPs, but so like I am learning Kubernetes still. I would not consider myself an expert, but I've used Claude Code a lot to leverage help me build out the infrastructure.
Right.
And obviously with something like an open claw, like it could be dangerous if you let it loose on stuff. You have to read through the security guidelines and stuff. But what I did
Yeah.
was,
That's the thing that stopped me from building it yet. I'm like,
yeah,
let's let other people rush in and build the definitive guides.
yeah. So like I've done a few things. I actually had a contribution to OpenClaw. I
I saw that.
added a trusted proxy mode. So like something like Pomerium or where I work, or like anything that does like reverse proxy, you can have that mode now. Um, just because they have this token thing, and it's basically useless if I'm already secured. So it was a way to. It's just another setup that it hardens access. It doesn't harden like what the agentic thing is doing, but it hardens access to it, and you can SSH into it and have hardened access to that way. But but yeah, what I was saying was like I gave it access to my Kubernetes cluster, but what I did was I set up role based access so that it could only read stuff within the cluster, so I could learn about it. Like obviously, it could still pull stuff out of it, but there's nothing like super secret in there really. It's really I've got MCP servers running in there and a few other things. So just having fun. But yeah.
Maybe we should do this again in a couple of months when I've set mine up and we can see how far we've come.
Yeah, we could do a claw showdown, I guess.
Kind of like Professor Zoidberg.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, and we have to do this.
Yes. I'm just thinking of like when in Futurama they visit his home planet and it turns out like there's this, like this show of strength ritual that they have to do during the time of mating. Like I could see that it's like all the claws have gathered here to prove their worth.
Exactly.
Battle claw.
Anyway, so not the best segue, but like I was saying, I have some MCPs on my Kubernetes cluster, and you were mentioning this, like even at the London meetups, you're still trying to explain what MCPs are because people are literally just discovering them now, especially with
That
like MCP apps coming out too now. It's like so.
love MCP apps. So everything seems to have suddenly changed. I went to MCP Connect Day in Paris by
Oh
the
yeah,
Alpic.ai folks. Don't know if you've heard of Alpic, but they're kind of like if you want to build MCP apps, you should check Alpic out. They're kind of like the Vercel of MCP apps. They've got this I think it's like Skybridge. It's their React Native of MCP apps. So you build in Skybridge and you can ship to all of the different clients. And but we can talk more about MCP apps later.
yeah,
I
yeah, for
went
sure.
there just a few weeks ago. I loved it. It gave me early days CSS Conf EU vibes. Like we're
Hmm.
talking 200 people, small venue. There was no, major, you didn't feel like you were being sold anything. It was just people working on standards and working
Yeah,
at big companies telling their stories on stage. It was awesome. I loved it. It was like 2026, you're going to have to work hard to top that conference.
yeah.
And I came back from to London and I was like, oh, I'm going to go demo gonna go demo my little MCP app. I saw the OpenClaw demo by its creator. I like
Okay.
ran last, and everyone was like, "Wow, your talk was the best," because it was short and sweet and colorful, and everyone was tired by then. I was like, "Was it though?"
Yeah.
Anyway, I was like, "Open, no, this claw bot. This sounds cool. That's nice. Okay, well, I guess my social media app has some competition now." And ever since then, everyone has been coming out of the woodwork for agent and MCP nights. You don't have to
Mhm.
explain it anymore. Up until February, you had to explain MCP to people because people were
Yeah.
coming and they were like, I need to get into AI. My boss has said so, but I'm not like, what's an LLM? And I got to give credit to the people who do AI for the rest of us because that conference has done so
Mhm.
much to sort of elevate people's understanding, the everyman's understanding, as well as like leaderships of this is what AI is. This is what
Yeah.
it's good for. So yeah, people are coming around. But for those who don't know, MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. And if you're using a really old LLM, it might try to bullshit its way by thinking MCP is something like machine callable program. I saw that once. I was like, okay, who generated this on like GPT 2 or something? Who did this? Who's responsible for
Yeah.
this? But MCP
Show
stands
yourself.
for Model Context Protocol. It was started by some 20 somethings at OpenAI. I'm sorry, not OpenAI, at Anthropic here in London. I thought it would be really cool living in London because it's like, oh
Mhm.
my God, it's the center of No, you never get to hang out with the MCP crew here. They are thoroughly ensconced in big tech, just like all the meta folks. So,
Okay.
no, we don't hang out with the MCP crowd here. But the MCP scene has started to pick up, which I'm very grateful for because it didn't make sense that
Yeah.
MCP started here in London, and yet it's got the biggest fan base in San Francisco. I resent that. Like, I moved here. I
Yeah.
came to London because it was going to be the second city for AI. So
Yeah.
it was created, it's open source. It comes with three things you need to know about: tools, resources, and prompts. Nobody talks about resources or prompts. It's just tools.
Mhm.
Tools are the thing that people care about.
Yeah. No,
Uh,
totally.
the idea is it's a server, and on the server you can host some tools. You could also host resources. These would be like images or web pages, programs, like anything you could throw in a folder, just letting an agent know it exists. But the tools are the things people care about
Mhm.
because you can create an MCP tool to access your Gmail. You could create an MCP tool that will bulk unfollow people you don't like on Blue Sky. I've built that tool. I love it.
Mhm.
It makes it so much easier to manage to manage my socials.
Yeah.
Um, and what's really important is MCP servers. They're good if you have something you want to make public, like you
Mhm.
want to allow people's agents access to public records or GitHub. Enterprise, when people are using agents and they want people to use agents, MCP is a blessing because you can put this server out there and it can be blessed. It can have authentication and all this. It's wonderful. Basically, you can think of it as sort of like advanced APIs for agents.
Yeah. Um,
And I'm gonna pause because I got a cough. I'm gonna let you take it for a minute.
yeah, 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 for sure. Also, I see Rizal in the chat, so gonna give a shout out to Goose and Block because like they were pretty big on pushing MCP forward as well. They have some people on the steering committee, um, and I'm hoping that Rachel Lee does not die on the live stream. Yeah, so hopefully the oolong tea will help things. But
This is
yeah,
my fault for coming on right after having a cold.
but it's yeah, there's yeah, I guess some things to mention about the MCPs too is like obviously it's open source, the standard is open, and the name of the foundation is escaping me, but it's now part of this agentic foundation. Is it AAIF?
AAIF.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah, and I know like obviously Anthropic's part of that. I
It's
know.
like Agentic AI Foundation. That's it.
Yeah, And yeah, there's like Anthropic, obviously, because they created the standard initially. I know Block's a part of that, and there's some other companies too. But
Yeah,
yeah,
Block has kind of become the Mozilla of the space, and Goose is like Firefox. You know, for any web people in the audience, because I'm
yeah,
from old school web world, so I'm going to break it down. Like Goose is like Firefox. It tries to be the first adopter of all new standards, and adhere to the spec as much as possible, which is tough
yeah,
because a lot of the specs prior to recently, like now since joining the Linux Foundation, I think the standards are going through a lot of rigor. I
hmm
work with arcade.dev. It's an MCP authorization tool company. Servers
yeah.
MCP servers that ask you to authorize the tool. You click a link and you go using MCP elicitations. They contributed MCP elicitations, the standard.
Oh, nice.
Um, and that was right when the MCP crew, as it were like, okay, we have to really get good at doing standards, like
Hmm
like W3C good, because we can't leave any more of these loopholes. Or Anthropic and OpenAI are going to get into like a browser war and not agree on what the standard should be.
Yeah.
So now things are a lot more rigorous than they were when MCP was first proposed. So we kind of have like it's like the JavaScript moment where it
hmm
was MCP, like original is very very loosey goosey in
Yeah.
terms of what you can do with it. And now it's like now we got the TC39, we got TypeScript coming on board, and it's gonna there's a good chance that this, although it's not perfect, from you talk to people who write protocols, and of course it could be
hmm
better or different. Google's created agent to agent, also known
Yeah.
A to A, which is trying to figure out how it fits into the scheme and differentiates. So there were for a while like 13 and counting different competing protocols in this space, and now we've
Yeah.
kind of narrowed it down to like MCP, A2A, and I think one other thing that no one talks about.
Yeah, a mutual of ours, my old coworker Lori Voss gave a really informative and funny talk at the initial Dev MCP Dev Summit. I'll try and find a link to that. But it was, Lori's always very animated. And I love his talks all the time. They're amazing, and that one did not disappoint. But yeah, it was kind of rant slash comedy slash like information dense, and it was just a really great talk.
Laurie is amazing, and he's currently with a Rise, spinning up a dev team, developer advocacy team there.
Yeah, I saw that. Laurie's in SF, but like I know they have some big roots in New York City as well, I think. Yeah, I think they're still looking for a few for that crew. I can't remember. I saw the post a while ago, but yeah. Um, yeah, I was gonna say too, like, yeah, speaking of Goose, like, yeah, I'm a fan of Goose too. And like you said,
Same.
they were early in on a lot of this MCP stuff, so they had we can kind of maybe do a quick not tangent, but like MCP UI came about from Ito and Liad, which was a great project, and I know I think Goose might have been the only people supporting it when that came out. I I literally vibe coded something when we were at MCP Dev Summit in the EU. I got because I have like an MCP client I wrote where I demo our MCPs that we secure, but I
Nice.
I got like there was that chess MCP UI demo. I kind of got it working. It was like I was literally doing this like I don't even know why I was doing this before my talk, but I'm like I
You
didn't
like pain.
yeah
That's the only thing I can assume from this.
I didn't go to bed and I was just like getting this chess to
Chaos.
work. Yeah, exactly. So maybe with a dash of jet lag, who knows? But yeah, so that obviously paved the way for like MCP apps. And I know Goose has the standard MCP app support now. I've been working with
Yeah.
some MCP apps. Like, I did hang out with Fred from Alpic on a live stream a few weeks ago,
Oh, nice.
and so yeah, so I have like a boilerplate, and I got it working in VS Code. Um, uh, I almost got it working in Goose. I still got to follow up with Roselle why I couldn't get it working. I think it was more not that it didn't support it; it just wasn't finding my tool call. So like, anyways, I might hit you up again, Roselle, to chat about that. But and obviously there was Chat GPT apps. So like they brought out this apps SDK last year.
Oh my God.
And this is kind of like you were talking about Firefox. Like that this whole ecosystem is making me think of document.all and like conditional comments and from web days, like very specific things that were IE related. But
runs best in Internet Explorer. I have an MCP app, and I
okay.
debuted it at MCP Connecte Paris. And
Oh, nice.
yeah, it's called ASSA. ASA stands for Antisocial Social Agent.
Okay.
I wanted to create a way to interact with my social networks without being controlled by the algorithms there. Like, I just want to talk to the people I know on X and Blue Sky and Mastodon and just so many social networks. It's too much, right?
Yeah.
I just want like a really beautiful magazine spread of all the stuff that's important to me and, things to engage with. And I'll use my own algorithms. So I started building it, and I wanted to make it an MCP app just because I feel like, yeah, you could build this as a website or an app, but I'll be honest. I don't think people are going to use websites or apps like that very much. I wanted to build it agent first. The idea is whatever agent you're using, it runs on the LLM that's it has access to, maybe one that's on your device or not. And I got it working in Goose first because I'm a Goose first developer. Kind of like developing things on Firefox. They're playing by the rules. And at MCP Connect, two people from OpenAI came. No one came from Anthropic, which was a little odd. But then again, at MCP Dev Summit London, people came from Anthropic, but no one came from OpenAI. It's like, did they have some kind of a turf agreement or something? But anyway, point is,
East side, west side. I don't know.
it feels like we're dealing. I'm not going to make any comments, but if they start showing up with colorful bandanas at events, I think it's time to ask some questions. So the challenge here is that in both cases, you definitely hear from the mothership, the people outside, the AAIF Linux Foundation working on the protocol. Yeah, we're going to fully support these standards. We, MCP apps all the way. And you got to give like credit to Liad and company, because they like brought the two together and we're like, yes, we have a great community around MCP UI. This is working. Please don't make more. Can you build on what the community likes? And, so each of these two have been like, we're going to add our own features that we like. We're going to have our own marketplace. We're going to have some stuff that's a little different. We support the baseline. That's pretty good, actually. That's really good because, we're in a place with Android and iOS where it's like you need two developer teams. You need two teams if you're going to run apps. You can still do React Native, but you're going to need specialists.
I hear the docs are really good though for React Native, so maybe you don't.
I'm just saying, but that's the point. Is interoperability just makes the entire ecosystem flourish faster. So I think at this point, that is the right call on both sides. Yeah, they're going to want to have a best on story. Everyone wants a best on story. Edge and Microsoft have a best on story. It hasn't done them a lick of good. But, if you want people to switch over from using the web and using apps to using an agent, you need to give them an app store that has lots of functionalities that your team is just not going to build. And for me, I'm building the little social agent that lets you never have to open up x.com again or tab through a bunch of different apps. It's just when you're ready to talk to people, they're there for you, and it's everything you want to see. And I think that's the exciting part. I wish there were more people using personal agents. I really do. There's not a lot of like traffic there. Like the people using agents every day, they're not people who are using apps every day. Like they're you and I.
Yeah.
They are not our parents. They're not our kids, unless they're cheating on their homework. I don't have kids, but I hear that's a thing. And honestly, I don't blame them.
Yeah.
After your story about having to memorize textbooks, it's like, no, what good was
Yeah.
that for you? It helped you pass tests, showed you could
Oh
memorize
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. That's a whole other discussion. Memorizing just for the sake of memorization, it makes no sense to me. But in math, though, I would say, like, when I was doing calculus, just the
Math is
sheer,
different.
yeah, yeah, math, like, obviously there's certain things I memorized in math, like, just by doing it over and over, like derivatives, they were just locked in my brain. But
Wow.
you still have to be able to think, right? Like, you could memorize that problem, but you have to understand it, because then, what if the question is slightly different? Then you're like, you know what I mean? What did you learn aside from you have a good memory potentially, I guess?
For me, it was proofs for geometry.
Uh,
My eyes glazed over when it came to trig. Like after trig, I was just like, see y'all, linear algebra is as far as I go.
yeah.
But man, geometry, having to go through and do the proofs. I had this great, it was from a homeschooling book company, and they
Okay.
had the best book on just like geometry that was entirely proof space. It started easy and it just got harder and harder. But it was
Hmm.
the act of solving the problem that taught you this. And there are times today when I'll
Yeah.
be like going to IKEA and fitting something in the home, and I'll be like whipping out the Pythagorean formula, modifying it slightly, and being like, yeah, this will fit. We'll just have
Yeah.
to move it through that aqueduct. I mean, sorry, it's just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and that's it is something. And I think that that can change your brain in a good way. But that's
Yeah.
different. That's applied knowledge. It's not rote memorization.
Yeah. But but to your point about, like, the personal assistance and, like, how you made your social agent, I think this also highlights something, like, obviously not everybody is using agents or is deep in agentic still, but it it brings up the idea of personal software. Like, it's pretty liberating that you can just make stuff now, like, and move pretty quickly to do it. Like, you still, and I would say, like, obviously if you're just putting something in production, you still want to vet it, obviously. But, like, for people who are just making whatever, and this is, like, even as they call them, the normies, like maybe one day my mom's just like, I want to make a some kind of app, and she'd be able to do it. Doesn't matter what the code quality is, if it does what she needs. You know what I mean? I think that's pretty liberating. uh,
I doubt it's going to sound like someone saying, I want to make an app. This is the part where I bet against the existing models. Like, there was a time with websites where anyone can build a website. We
yeah.
never had an anyone can build an app moment. And there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Who wants to build getting a website up on the web so much easier than getting an app into an app store and managing launches, because that's shipping
Yeah.
software. A website is shipping a document. And so we never had that moment. I doubt we're going to have, I sincerely doubt we're going to have moments when people are like, just code it yourself. That still sounds like too much for the
Yeah.
average
Yeah.
consumer.
Yeah.
But
Definitely.
I have a suspicion, like my personal bets are that it's going to end up being like a showdown between Microsoft, Apple, and Google, because Google has the device story and it has the model story
Hmm.
that it can, I use Google Home everywhere in my house. We talked a bit about home
Yeah.
automation. All they have to do is ship a, smart agent for your home with customizable modules, and I will start hacking that overnight.
Yeah.
And that is how this becomes the everyday. And that's why I track really closely. Like Apple, did you know they released MCP servers for Xcode?
Yeah. I saw that announcement a couple weeks ago. That's pretty big.
That is. They now you've got MCP servers lying dormant on your computer that you can activate if you want. Um, and that is a step. They also signed an agreement to start using Google's models instead of Siri.
Hmm.
That shows, I'm actually kind of sad about that, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, and then you've got Microsoft, which, they've got OpenAI on a short leash. and their device story isn't quite as strong because they don't have a mobile device,
Mhm.
but they do pretty much, like any PC surface, they can crack into, and on the
Yeah.
enterprise side of things as well. So I feel like once we see these tools finding their way into the enterprise via Microsoft and into the home via Google, that's the
Mhm.
tipping point. That's the point at which, you know, um, agents will enter into every person's utilities. I'm not sure if they'll be called agents. For all I know, the branding
Yeah.
boys are going to have to call it something like, personal automator. I don't
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
what.
Yeah. My widget or my widgets or something. I don't know.
It's the
Um,
operating system that adapts to you.
yeah. No, and it's like it didn't also I haven't I don't really use Windows anymore. I have a dual boot on my mini PC here, but didn't Windows ship MCP support like right in the OS? Or
Did they?
I feel like I read that somewhere. I'm gonna have to fact check myself, but Windows MCPs uh on
I'm just
Windows,
asking Cloud right now.
yeah. Yeah, model context protocol on Windows overview.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like I don't know how baked in it is, but like
They
obviously
shipped a public preview of the Windows on device registry along with built in agent connectors for File Explorer and system settings in November 2025.
okay, so there you go. Okay, so
Wow.
I did read correctly. But it's just kind of interesting how it's well not I mean it makes sense. It's kind of creeping into everywhere, I guess. The the interesting thing I've found, this is like not everybody, but like there's some developers I know, they're like, MCPs were a mistake, just use CLIs. And the I definitely think CLIs are good too, but like there's a story there. I still think
What do
MC
you mean by that? CLI, like versus an MCP server? Unpack this.
I think the argument there is like if you're running local, they prefer CLIs because they run faster, and but the thing is you have to install all these things too. Then though, like that's the weird part, but I
Hmm.
also feel like in terms of the MCP story, there's actually a divide. There's like developers who are consuming MCPs, and then there's the consumer base, So like even the people, even like devs that say like I don't need MCPs, I'm just going to use these other things, or I'm going to use just skills, whatever. For a consumer, like an MCP app, whatever they want to call it, I've got this widget in my chat GPT or whatever. That is a huge unlock for people. And you're going to see, like, I mean, like you said, you've hung out with the Alpic folks too. Like, that's going to be like a huge unlock. Like, I don't know about in London, but like when I book a flight on Air Canada, I mentioned this to Fred, but like, you get to the start screen and it's like, hey, put in your dates and then like, where are you going to? And then like, you go through the whole flow and then you're like, oh shoot, like I got to go on the 22nd instead of the 23rd now, and you literally have to restart the whole process. So like with like an MCP app, I could totally see with natural language like book me the flight, this date range. Oh, I messed up, the date range is actually this now, and like it might still go through a flow like I just explained, but it's not me, the user, doing it. You know what I mean? It just self corrects based on my natural language. And I think that's super handy. But it's
There's
like,
so many things I wanna talk more about in the
yeah.
the sentences you've just said.
All right, let's unpack it.
So one thing, like all of the nerds who are currently using chat in to communicate with their agents, we're used to command line interfaces. For
Mhm.
us, writing a paragraph about our ideal vacation doesn't seem like a big ask. That's like
Yeah,
amazing. I would type that to my travel agent.
yeah.
For most people, though, there's a reason why the command line interface died. My mom made me use the command line interface to play video games because
Yeah.
she was like, we do not use GUIs in this house. Those are for those dumb Apple users. We use DOS. And
Yeah.
she was very, very like, this is how you enter into a file folder and you use the run.exe. And yeah,
Yeah.
she was intense. She knew COBOL. So, and assembly. The truth is that it was how do I put this? Uh, People will want interfaces.
Hmm.
They'll want the magic that you get of having an LLM make associations and pattern match. That's very handy. Like
Yeah.
LLMs and chat support. The gains. Amazing. It's gonna put a lot of call centers out of business,
Yeah.
just because they are doing the stuff that people at call centers genuinely hate doing. But making the worst people the most effective and essentially leveling everyone's talent grade and
Hmm.
reducing the need for workers. But when it comes to in the home, people are still going to want interfaces. They're still going to want
Oh
bright,
yeah.
shiny things to point at. And there are still going to be people who are going to want like a sound interface because they're not going to be
Yeah.
looking and reading. They're going to be, interacting without visual aid for whatever reason. Maybe they're too busy minding the baby. So we're getting a multimodal human language
Hmm.
interface. And I think that's something to keep in mind because, typing a lot of information into a chat window, I think we're going to look back on this in 5 years and be like, those
Yeah.
dummies. It was like, remember the days when we only had IRC and now we could like FaceTime with folks? It's crazy. Uh,
Yeah.
I think that is something that people need to remember. Like command line interfaces died for a reason. And then I
Hmm.
think something I've noticed, because we talked a bit about MCP,
Hmm.
and there's some people who are like, I don't need MCP. I've heard just use code mode or just use
Oh yeah.
skills.
Yeah.
And those sound great until you need to do things that involve like authorization or security, because the last thing you want is Claude code moding around with a bunch of your private keys passing the blood brain barrier and
Yeah.
finding their way into contexts they shouldn't be in.
Yeah.
So MCP remains like one of the best ways to centralize access
Oh yeah.
for using tools and skills. Like, I, I'm surprised how much of the stuff gets branded. That is stuff that I hacked together like in 2024. Like, skills, how is that not just files that I point my LLM at when we get
Yeah.
started? Like, that's what that is. Skills are supposed to tell, you could think of MCP tools as like a pair of wings that you give the agent, right? But
Hmm.
skills are like the instructions on how to soar, dive, hover, like how to use the wings. Because it turns out agents, they can pick tools, but they might not necessarily be the smartest at, how to use them
Yeah.
or how to use them together. So this is the comparison I've heard. Code mode is great until you need to start calling APIs and passing secrets around,
Hmm.
and that skills are more about how to do things and less about the ability to do them.
Yeah. And I think I've used code mode in Goose, and it still behaves like the way the MCP was supposed to operate. But like I think that was addressed. I think code mode's addressing a pain point of not being able to search for tools. So like you want to reduce the footprint there because like my understanding of code mode obviously it compiles it to code, but like I think it only exposes one tool and then the code mode decides which tools to give you. I think that's how it works.
So code mode, as I understand it from MCP Connected Paris, is you okay? So like, say you turn to your agent, and you're like, agent, I have done this.
Yeah.
Here's a big old pile of people I follow on Twitter. I want you to go get the latest tweets from each of them.
Hmm.
Now, an agent without code mode might look for a tool that would go and get first post or if it couldn't find that, just a tool that would return any posts, right?
Yeah.
And then it would kind of try to remember and fumble around trying to go through the hundreds of people I've given it.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. So I'd have to make it a special MCP tool that would take an array and da da da. And at that point, I could have coded this.
Hmm.
But if you turn on code mode, the agent will be like, let me see if I can turn this into a code problem. And it will actually write Python that, like I have an array of IDs. And then for each one of them, I will go visit or I will call this tool. This is how code mode plus MCP tools rocks. I will call this tool and I'll return this and I'll stash it in this other array. And I will finally take that array, send it to the model and return a summary. And so code mode allows it to basically write its own little mini programs. And to be
Hmm.
honest, there are times when that is a lifesaver. You do not want to have to make a new tool for every different situation under the sun.
Yeah.
Code mode plus authorized tools gets you very far in life.
Hmm. Yeah, and to your point too, how you're saying because where I work, like we're obviously securing MCPs, so like through
Oh,
identity
yeah.
and policies, and I know you're familiar with all this stuff, having worked at Arcade as well. And this is where I think it's a big unlock, because like to your point, you don't want like secrets being leaked out because you let your devs install a CLI, and also from a security standpoint, like what if you're not using the latest CLI, even if it's secure? You know what I mean? Like there's a burden to managing. It's basic. It's like a software bill of materials, like all over the place. Whereas you go with the centralized aspect, centralized can have issues potentially, but like
It
security
does give you
posture,
one neck to wring, though.
yeah. And it gives you that uniform security posture, and which orgs love. And the
Yes.
thing that's really cool about this too is like I'm sure you've seen this, having gone to several MCP events and conferences over the past year. But like I remember, even I was at the MCP Builders meetup in New York City with
Ooh,
Paulo. I gave a talk there about securing with zero trust
very
MCPs,
nice.
and like after the talk was well received, but like I was just chatting with people, and like for example, some people from Capital One, they're like, oh, this sounds cool, but like we're not even here yet. Like a lot of fintech is not touching it. But that said, when we were at the MCP Dev Summit in London, it wasn't Salesforce. I'm trying to remember who it was that was saying they're already using MCPs, and they were like it's Bloomberg. They were talking about it.
Yeah,
Um,
Bloomberg.
so like, but all that to say is like, it's one thing if you're just saying like I created like a dev 2 MCP to get my blog posts and like analyze stuff. That's one thing. But like security wise, I'm not really too worried about that if something went sideways. But when you're dealing with financial information or like just sensitive information in general within an org, you want and you need your team to leverage it with like frontier models. The only way to do that securely right now that I'm aware of is MCPs with OAuth and policies. Like scopes help in OAuth for sure, but they're static, they're not dynamic. So like there's other things there that I've talked about before, but like I think this is like an amazing use case for MCPs where like you can ban that shadow AI. Let your people in your org say, hey, yeah, go ahead. We've got an enterprise ChatGPT account. This MCP is allowed to run on there, and we know it's going to be secure. And like, I think that's like a big unlock.
I agree. I really do. I mean, I personally think everyone should just have their own model that they access, but these models are pretty damn big, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can just make a copy of Claude Opus 4.6 and be like, "Yeah, we'll install this on-prem for you, sir."
Yeah,
That doesn't. We're not at that point yet. We will one day be at that point, but until then,
yeah,
we're working in a mainframe and terminal architecture, which we
yeah.
haven't been doing since the '80s. So it's kind of a little unnerving.
Bring back the AS400. They still operate in banks. 'Cause you were saying before, like your mother did COBOL. It made me laugh a bit because like I'm a little longer in the tooth. So when I was at university, I actually took assembly and COBOL at my first semester.
We are
And
not going to play the age game, but I don't believe that.
yeah, it's and the funny thing, well, assembly was interesting. I mean, just a building block to learn, like you're moving registers and stuff. It was
Yeah,
pretty cool because, like, obviously, I'm going on a tangent here, but like we have like obviously programming languages have evolved and they're very high level now. They manage memory, etc. And then you
right.
go all the way back to assembly where it's like I need to, if I want to add these two numbers, I have to move it into a register and do a thing, and it kind of makes you appreciate, you know, JavaScript, C sharp, what Go, whatever you're using these days. It's like pretty wild.
Python and JavaScript are the two most inefficient languages that people use today. Like they are orders, like they are so much more wasteful in terms of energy than something like C++. But I think you see this with every layer of abstraction we get.
Mm-hmm.
It the technology becomes slightly less reliable and it becomes less efficient.
Yeah.
Unless we're talking about Rust, but that's another story. Uh, and I think we might be seeing that happening with agents. People are like, but it's so wasteful to just generate new UI on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is, but expecting one set of UI to serve all of humanity is a bit like that hasn't worked great. I've been to so many CSS conferences where it's like half of the talks are just people being like, please think about the accessibility. You will get
Mm-hmm.
fined if you don't.
Yeah.
And internationalization, how do we do that? Well, I don't know. Maybe we will adopt a coding standard where UIs adapt to the humans and
Yeah.
it will be less efficient standard. And, we won't be worrying about grid layouts with CSS anymore. We'll
Yeah.
be delegating that to code mode.
I still haven't used subgrids. I use grids a lot, but I, anyways,
Do not
getting
get
on it.
me started on the over engineering that went into the CSS standard. It's done. Just let it go. It's
Yeah,
over. The web is baked. It's done. It's perfect in its
yeah,
imperfections. It's time to now we can use all that to build all the components and UI for MCP apps.
yeah. And this you're giving me perfect segues to move on to the next thing. So, you gave a really great talk last year at All Things AI. You've given this talk since as well, but it's called "Death of the Browser,"
Yes.
and I'll link to it in the live stream after in the description. But you obviously it sounds like doom and gloom, but I'm bringing this up because I'm curious what your take is now, because like it was a really great talk last year, and like obviously MCPs are out, and now all of a sudden there's this new thing. It's only in Canary in Chrome, I think, and I'm not positive where else it is, but there's this new thing called WebMCP. So I haven't really looked into it. I listened to like a 15-minute thing from Wes Boss on syntax, but I guess let's dig into this. So, like, obviously, it's got the word MCP in there. So, I'm assuming we're providing tools. But how is this different than a remote MCP server?
Well, it's not remote. It's in the client. It's in your browser's client, for instance.
Mhm.
And it's not MCP. It's MCP inspired.
Okay, that's a good thing to note because I thought it was still following things. So it's inspirational. Okay.
So I interviewed the creator, who is this lovely engineer who came up with this at Amazon to solve an authorization problem. So
Hmm.
when agents took off at Amazon, if you've ever worked at Amazon, you know that everything auths in through your official device through a browser. Your like
Okay.
whole life, everything, ID, like you put the blood on the screen and it identifies you. But the point is to authorize agents to access tools, etc. uh, they would have to go through the browser.
Okay.
They would need a way to access the browser. So he came up with this WebMCP idea, which was, well, if I could just have the authentication authorization system set
Hmm.
up as a server in the browser, and I could send my agent there, and it could, go in and authorize and get the packet back, etc., then, this solves the problem for the whole company. And it
Hmm.
did. I interviewed
Okay.
him. If you go up and search on MCP MVP,
MCP.
WebMCP on YouTube, you'll see the interview.
Okay.
But I had a blast talking with him. So I'm going to be parroting what he said without the deepest knowledge. Um, I've been following it for a bit. I think
Okay.
it's different from how his original vision was. It's being taken on now more by the Chrome team. There was
Okay.
a lot of excitement around it at TPAC last year, and people from big manufacturers getting into it. I think it's being touted as like this is going to be the thing that opens up the web to agents.
Hmm.
I also worked with Tinyfish, which makes Agent QL. And
Okay.
that is a query language that you can use to extract information from any publicly available web page.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, most of the web does not want your agent to do stuff on it. And
Hmm.
you might be like, what? But QuickBooks, surely QuickBooks would like me to do stuff with QuickBooks. And no, they do not. They want you to use
Okay.
their agent. They don't want you crossing the streams or
Yeah.
using your agent. Like Amazon filed a lawsuit against Perplexity because people were buying stuff using Comet instead of
Oh
their own
yeah.
damn fingers on their keyboard. Like, so WebMCP is amazing if you are like Alex Nahas, the creator, and
Hmm.
you really need to automate a bunch of agents inside a company through an existing system.
Okay.
That actually is really useful. But it's more like instead of WebMCP, it's more like intranet MCP is how I would think of it,
Okay.
because it's sort of this is really useful if your site wants to enable agents to perform actions,
Hmm.
agents that aren't yours, agents that could come from anywhere, could be hostile, could be scraping you, don't know. You're opening yourself up to, you're just making it easier for people to do stuff with agents. And some of those people are just going to want to DDoS your company by overloading, hitting the search feature.
Okay.
But, you're making it easier. I'm assuming there's money at the end of making it easier for them.
Yeah.
And some website owners are going to want to make it easier for agents to perform tasks. Government websites, for instance, probably
Hmm.
sites that need to make things accessible, or they will, be fined if they can say, "Look, we've made it easy for people's agents to do stuff."
Hmm.
And most people are, who have accessibility needs have started using agents. That's a win. But there will
Hmm.
be many, many, many commercial enterprises that will not adopt the standard. And, they'd much rather, if they do make any of these things available, it would be to route you through an official MCP server that you have to pay to access through your enterprise plan.
Yeah.
Uh, so I I think it's interesting. So you build like a React component.
Hmm.
Let's use search as an example. You built a blog site. It's got a search function on the page. And you notice there are a lot of people's agents coming to your site, and they are just really slowly trying to use that search function. They're
Yeah.
not coming in through Google or something. They just land on the page, they fill in a form, and then they activate the click button. And it's like, that's
Yeah.
a lot. Why don't I just surface the function I'm using
Hmm.
with React Server components and hand it to you using WebMCP. And then you can just, when you land on the page, you'll hear, oh, these tools are available to me. Goody, I will use one. And then you could run the search yourself without having to interact with the
Hmm.
form or anything. So, forms, anytime you have a form on a site, opportunity for WebMCP.
Yeah.
If you want agents to be able to do the thing with the form, which if it's to take money,
Yeah.
you might.
Yeah. So I guess in some sense, this also helps the screen scrapers of the web to some degree, or does it kill them?
Mm, it's not the scrapers, it's the automators.
Or yeah,
Uh,
automators. Sorry, because a lot of people use screen scrapers during automation. So yeah, good correction there. Yeah.
well, you do need a little automation to do screen scraping often because
Yeah.
you got to usually log in or click around a bit.
Hmm.
But it's the automation. And So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I think the everyman won't want to implement this is because why? Why would you make it easier for people to rip off your content or
Hmm.
to have a bot search all of your product listings just so that it can, your competitor can change their listings in response?
Yeah.
There is a need, I think, when you're running like an intranet and you need to like make it easy for people to auth in. But I think
Hmm.
of it more as like a bolt on. Like if you are having to maintain COBOL systems, you're probably excited about WebMCP because
Yeah.
somebody was like, let's build an adapter for COBOL that lets any programming language fire its functions. Yeah, that's a great idea for a mainframe operating bank and other institutions.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't matter to most of us who are building the web still.
Yeah. And I mean, we have MCPs already. I mean, the only thing I could think of is maybe somebody just doesn't want to write a separate MCP for their thing, but then I feel
Yeah.
like it's not a good separation of concerns potentially, and it's not, I don't know, you can say just
There
go to
there
my
are a
site
couple of good
still.
arguments here. Like one is, what if you're at a company that's too big to build that MCP server? In
Mm,
Alex's case, they were not going to be building an entire agentic version of this authorization flow. That was not going to happen. People were going to do naughty things.
yeah.
And you don't want them to do naughty things. You want them to do the path. It was way easier to get sign off on, WebMCP and surfacing the auth flow as a tool in the browser than it was to build an entire new set of MCP servers that would be maintained by who exactly? Thousands of servers? No. Number
Yeah.
two, the reasoning goes that people who build websites probably don't want to also build a server. The team that is building the search function for the website probably doesn't want to own and maintain and security posture a WebMCP server. I mean,
Hmm.
an MCP server.
Yeah.
But the team that is managing that particular search functionality, etc., if all you're doing is surfacing it to another kind of user, then that keeps things still owned by one team, like the search team or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's the argument I hear there, and the other one being mom and pops who want to make their content available to agents for capital R reasons can do it
Hmm.
easily, like this. I've yet to meet a real world use case where anybody who's just building like their own mid-sized website would want that.
Yeah.
But I like being proven wrong. I'm hoping it's just so damn brand spanking new that the use cases haven't come crawling out of the woodwork yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious to see where it goes to, because like, especially because people, well, you know, like ChatGPT, I forget their user base, but it's quite large, So like exposing MCP apps in there, and obviously Claude.ai does that now too. Like, you know, maybe people aren't going to care about this other flow, or maybe it's more niche. Who knows? And like, who knows? It's still not even proven that the apps in in uh, in Chat GPT or Claude are like there's definitely, they did partnerships with enterprises to obviously bring in some like Booking.com and all that.
Oh yeah, and
But
Etsy and Shopify, which are all
yeah,
great ideas.
yeah,
This is something I noticed. Like I was talking with some folks, there are agencies that specialize in building MCP apps cropping up, and there are internal teams whose job is, go out and make us relevant in this brand new world, make a
mhm,
killer MCP app. And I'm like, do you know how many people are actually installing MCP apps? I don't
yeah,
think you can make a killer MCP app because we're at the bleeding edge right now. We're not in the hockey stick of adoption yet. We're still
hmm,
not sure that in, an app marketplace for personal agents is going to be a thing.
yeah. And the other thing too, like Ruben Casas as well. We hung out a while ago, and he showed me, he has this really amazing, it's like tourist app. He used it when he was in New York City. Uh, I forget what it's called, but I'll link to the live stream. But he made a very good point too, like, and it's kind of like the Jeff Goldblum meme in the first Jurassic Park. But like, MCP apps are here. Does it make sense to make your whatever you offer an MCP app? Maybe it doesn't. You know what I mean? Just jamming it in to say it's in ChatGPT. Like, if there's nothing that the LLMs provide for it, like, you know, Jeff Goldblum kind of.
I mean, as a person who built an antisocial social agent that lives inside Goose and only really uses Goose to summarize posts, that could have been an app. It did not need to be an MCP app living inside a personal agent.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like it's good to practice. It's good to try things out.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah, for
I
sure.
I love the idea of generative UI. And unfortunately, the latest MCP app spec specifically doesn't allow for generative UI. You have to hack it. Ruben's done a talk on that too. But
Yeah.
anyway, I think right now anyone who's making an MCP app is kind of fooling around and finding out, because nobody wants to be the last person to try building the next big thing. We all want
Yeah.
to test it out, have an opinion about where it should go. But as one of my machine learning PhD colleagues keeps reminding me, you don't need AI to do any of this. You don't need AI for any
Mhm.
of this. And
Yeah.
he's got a point. He has got a point.
Yeah. It's like there's definitely things that I think will make complete sense as apps. I don't know what all of those use cases are yet, but like obviously the natural language and being able to ask questions is like a big unlock potentially, but like yeah, what are the really valuable apps that would make sense in there? And like I saw I feel like you've probably seen this, but have you seen like the TLD draw one?
Yeah.
That's pretty wild, like just creating charts and stuff. And it's also fun. It's visual, so like that, that gives a bit of a wow factor. But like, but yeah, like I guess like what are yeah, because like
I 100% agree. I think right now, people building MCP apps, etc., we're just sort of preparing for a day when the entire operating system has an AI component.
mhm,
And the new modality where we're not shipping like, this is an app, add it to
yeah,
your home screen, go live in this completely artificial environment that's rigidly controlled by templates by a big team that's much bigger than it needs to be. uh,
yeah,
it'll be more like, hey, you got to do your taxes, want to install the H&R block or the QuickBooks widget to do your taxes, I'll get
yeah,
them done for you real fast, 99 cents, paching. Like, that is the future. And
yeah,
I
and
think people who are investing now, they're either they see that future and they want to help build the foundation for it, or they
mhm.
see it coming and they want to make sure they have a strong opinion early.
Yeah, and side note, I don't think anybody likes doing taxes, so if you can just pop in like most of your info and then just get a this also ties into the security stuff we were talking about again too, but yeah, that's like a valid use case, like do my taxes for me, or like do something that is like administrative that I don't want to deal with at all, and I know you can do this. It's like
This is why OpenClaw is really interesting to watch. I don't see a personal agent. I see a sloppy prototyped operating system. I think in
yeah,
the future, your operating system is going to be very knowledgeable. Like, all the files you've dumped into it or have access to in the cloud, it'll just be able to, like, when you install the H&R block app,
mhm,
or whatever. It won't be called an MCP app, by the way. It's just
yeah,
going to be an app, and it'll just turn around and be like, so we're actually missing your 401k report.
mhm,
If you could give me permission to reach out to your employer, I can request it for you. And when it comes in, I'll just have this juiced up for you in a minute.
mhm,
That is that is what it will be like,
yeah,
the operating system that knows you. So when I watch OpenClaw and what people are doing with it, I know that all the operating system creators and wannabe creators, there's a chance that a new operating system could be born out of something like OpenAI or Anthropic. Maybe, we'll
yeah,
see. Uh, are watching closely,
yeah.
because that would be the ultimate evolution. The operating system that knows your business and doesn't share it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like it's not the same thing, but like I remember when like Google Drive came out, or like similar tools, it's like just upload your file, put it there, and in my head, like getting back to your operating system, your mom saying use CLIs, use the command line, and I'm like I just remember this vividly. It's like on Windows, you got Windows Explorer. It's like no, I'm gonna put my resumes in the resume folder. This is gonna this other thing is going in this folder. And then something like Google Drive kind of just killed that whole idea. Like just throw it in here, and when you need it, like you can still organize it,
Just searched
obviously.
it.
Yeah, and like that bugged me
It's a
for the
data
longest.
lake. Trust the algorithm.
Yeah, but it bugged me for the longest time. It's like, no, I wanna put all my talks under talks, and like, and obviously you can tag it and stuff. There's different ways to do it, but like I I was so ingrained from Windows Explorer and classifying things that it took me a while to just let go for some reason. I don't know why. And like obviously somebody who had never seen Windows, like, or a newer generation, it wouldn't even cross their mind, right? They'd just be like, okay, I just popped it. Like kids, like my kids use Google Drive at like Google at work, school all the time, and they're just like, yeah, teacher sent something, drop it here. And my wife was
It's a
asking her
conveyor
daughter
belt.
the other day, she's like, where's this file? And she's like, I don't know, I just put it into Google Drive, it's there, because and it's like, it was just kind of funny, and it's not the exact same thing, but just the whole like kind of idea of reimagining the OS, it kind of reminded me of that, so
I feel that there's actually this thing called the para method, Para, that was part of the second brain people who are thinking about like how can we arrange our thoughts. If you're into
yeah.
Obsidian and Notion, you've heard of it. But the idea is you can sort everything, like just give up on organizing your files.
Hmm.
Everything is now like a project, an area, a resource, or in the archive. I
Yeah.
added a 0 for inbox because it's like I'm not sure what it is. But it every folder I have is now like these 4 folders. And the
Yeah.
point is that things could go from being a project to archived
Yeah.
or from a resource to an area. But the whole system was developed with the idea that computers and the algorithms we use for accessing information are just going to get better.
Yeah.
So the interface we need to worry about is the one that makes it easier for us to get things done and for us as humans to
Mhm.
kind of see our thoughts. Everything else, the connections between them, just anticipate that technology is going to keep up. And I
Yeah.
switched over to it for a couple of years now, and I gotta be honest, it's as good and terrible as any other organizational method out there, but
Mhm.
it certainly helps me worry less about the mess.
Yeah, and it's funny that you bring up Obsidian. I've tried, because like my old coworker Ben Hong, who he even does Obsidian hours on his live streams. He's like
Oh my gosh.
totally into it. And I know Cassidy Williams is big into Obsidian too. I I get the idea, like, because long ago, like when I first started in tech, I worked at a company that had an associative database, so like everything was just Venn diagrams, finding things, and it was is like during like it came out kind of when Neo4j kind of started, kind of like this is like early 2000s, um
Yes.
but getting back to your point, it's like there's actually more friction for me now to say like, okay, open the file explorer, go into this folder, where is it, versus just type some things I know about it, and then boom, I just get a list. Like it's obviously a better experience, and you know, I don't care how it's classified now. As I mean, it should be classified or tagged in ways that I think are helpful. But I'm mentioning this because I tried to get on the Obsidian train like 2 or 3 times, and it totally makes sense. Like, hey, I just did a live stream with Rachel Lee. I'm gonna create an entity Rachel Lee, and then I'm gonna link it to this YouTube video. And oh, they gave a talk about death of the browser. I'll link it to that or something. And like you make all these connections, and like
It
the
sounds like
thing,
work.
yeah. And so like that's how I perceived Obsidian, and like I don't know if it's different now, but like the way this is something that I would love, is this is where I could see like AI helping me, like just we just did this live stream. Let it auto categorize it in Obsidian for me. I can change it if I want later, but right away, hey, you know,
Yes.
that's what I
Yes.
want if I were to use it.
Yes. Auto tagging. Like there are algorithms for this already. We don't need AI for that. We just
Yeah,
need a better system. which you
Yes.
can now vibe code, which is great.
Yeah.
But I like to remove things in life that make you feel like you're accomplishing work when they're really just causing you to do more work, like busy
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
I actually built like an automated. It's funny. I thought everybody would be more interested in the social network that I was, like a social client and social servers. I thought that would be the thing. People
Yeah.
are more excited about my automated self-improving docs pipeline. Anytime I talk with other developer advocates, they're like, "I will pay you $40 a month to install that for me right now." And it's literally just like it's GitHub Actions and an LLM and just
Okay.
a lot of know-how. But the point is that it's designed to make writing good docs not suck. All it
Mhm.
is your PR, but better. A bunch of commits left on your PR that you can approve or reject. And then after you push it, another PR is assigned for you to review that's your PR, but like actually aligned to the style guide.
Yeah.
And that's an example where AI, specifically LLMs, just taking the busy work out of life.
Okay.
Like you don't have to I don't have to spend time nitpicking
Mhm.
your your wonderful contribution that should immediately be merged and go off and start doing good in the world. I don't have to spend 2 hours picking through it.
Yeah.
Literally, you can go and make the changes and merge it yourself now. That's
Yeah.
what I love. That is the hope. And unfortunately, MCP apps, I think you have to ask yourself when you're building one, is this going to make things smoother for a person?
Yeah.
Or is it just going to be like a second life moment where like we're here, we're in the metaverse.
Yeah. 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 I put the glasses on. I can see the app. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, maybe people will start installing it now.
Yeah. No, but that's definitely like I'm curious if you use like the Goose CLI with a recipe for that, or is it something else, or
Actually, like I said, it's really just GitHub and there's Veil. I use Veil. If you've heard of
okay, yeah,
VALE, the linter for human language,
yeah,
and Veil, instead of complaining in actual GitHub and blocking commits, just sends its list of demands off to your LLM, and your the GitHub action just takes the LLM's version and turns it into little commits that you
okay,
can merge or not merge, which I like because getting Veil to sometimes it has a hair trigger and you're like, no, Veil, this is not the hill you want to die on, Veil.
hmm,
And so it's really nice because it allows the engineer to use their discretion about which ones to observe. And then for a much deeper kind of alignment, because no engineer likes to see huge ass edits in their docs, it will do a second follow up PR that does that, which is just strictly LLM based. It sends off the style guide and the PR with the markdown files and any
hmm,
branding guidelines, along with a heck of a lot of best practices prompting to
yeah,
your LLM and aligns it all. So, like I said, it's simple, but setting a system up like this is something most of us just don't have time to slow down and think about, I guess.
yeah. No, and shout out to Vail. I'm pretty sure that's what we used at Netlify in the docs. It's pretty cool. But this brings up like this is kind of like pre AI stuff, but like I remember putting up a PR back in like 2017, and my coworkers like, can you fix the indentation on this code? It's like just so it's more readable. And like in terms of the busy work you were talking about before, also I was like, okay, I'll change it, but like I'm like in my head, I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, and then something like Prettier comes out, and then I don't agree with all the formatting it does, but I just don't care. It's consistent.
Not
And
the hill
obviously
you want
there's
to die on.
exactly, and there's other tools now like Ox format and stuff, but like my point is those kinds of things like from what you're describing like that's even something like you can run in like a pre-commit hook or whatever, but like it, my point is it kind of paves the path to kind of what you're talking about, like just let the LLMs do the busy work, and like you can focus on I had a cool feature and this is how I documented it, and just clean it up.
I would much rather people just be dumping their thoughts into the documentation ad hoc. And what I try to build is the system that takes all that information and aligns it and recategorizes it where it belongs in documentation to be more
Hmm.
human accessible.
Yeah,
It's like these are the tools. This is literally what LLMs were built for. This is their
yeah,
job. They're the perfect instrument for this. And you mix that up with some, oh, I could keep going on the different things that I'm
yeah,
adding to
yeah,
the system, but I don't think that's what people came here for.
yeah. Yeah, and
This is not about MCP.
yeah, and I'm happy to chat still, but I just want to be mindful of time.
I
We're
do
like,
have to get my butt up and go do some
okay,
things.
so that's why I
But
wanted to do
Nick,
the time check.
it has been awesome chatting with you so much. Thank you for having me. I love talking smack about well, the web and the future of MCP and how agents are shaking things up in
Yeah.
subtle and sometimes not so subtle ways.
Yeah. No, this is a really great convo. I loved all the twists and turns we went on during the conversation, but this is really great. And yeah, thanks again for hanging. It's always a pleasure chatting with you. So
And if folks want to hear me write more about the way the web is going, I blog at
the,
agenticweb.nearestneighbors.com.
okay, I will drop a link to that if I can find that. You said agentic. What was it? Okay.
agenticweb.nearestneighbors.com. Or just nearestneighbors.com. That's got all my links on it. It's
All right.
my
Cool.
weird last name. I love this handle. It's so good. Like I
It's
said, I'm thinking of changing my first name to Nearest.
it's a cool it's a cool handle too, and I'm just curious before we go, is that like based on like Dijkstra's album kind of like?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I figured, but just thought I'd ask.
Well, so many times I had to introduce myself as like people would be like Nabbers. I'd be like neighbors, like nearest neighbors. And then I was like,
Yeah,
actually, that's a great handle. I need that.
yeah, cool, awesome. Well, I won't keep you any longer. Thanks again, and next time I'm in London, we'll go grab some more tea again.
Absolutely. Maybe we can make it out to Bletchley Park.
There we go. Cool. Thanks
Awesome.
everybody,
Bye.
and we'll see you in the next one.